Morning, children of God. Good morning. Let's start there. And boy, do we need this morning. Stop trying to make things happen. Let them unfold through you. They're already complete. Boy, doesn't that just take the stress out? Now, for those of you who don't believe it, I'll say it again. No. When in doubt, let's keep after it. One of the things that I know for sure is that we came together. Let us stand, join together, and sing in the silence. In this moment, love is here, peace is here, truth is here, and we take a moment and acknowledge God's presence. God is here. O loving Father, Mother God, we acknowledge your presence, moving in and through us this day. In this moment, we choose to be open, receptive, and responsive to your instruction and to your guidance this day. We are grateful for the opportunity to come together, to worship, to sing, and to pray in the name, in the nature, in the power of the Christ. Amen. Amen.
Today's daily word is depth, and the reading of the daily word will be by Linda. Lisa.
And I want to give a special welcome to my family who's here today. Glad you're here. The daily word today is about depth. I discover living waters in the deep well of my soul. A folk story tells of a farmer who set out to dig a well. The ground was still dry, about 15 feet down, and he grew frustrated. He moved to another location and repeated the process twice more. Then his wife suggested he simply dig deeper right where he was standing. He followed her advice and soon found an abandoned water source. At times I may act like the farmer. My spiritual practice may seem arid and unproductive. However, by continuing in faith, I move deeper into the well of my soul. Jesus told us about the living waters of the abandoned, eternal source. I tap this living spring of joy by going within, right where I am. If my practice feels dry, I do not abandon it. I simply dig deeper and discover all I could ever want. The water that I will give will become in them a spring of water gushing into eternal life.
Num, num, num. So good to have you all here. I have to point out, though, that when they're all here, the building does this. Not exactly. It's over here. Balance works. One of the things that we know with a capital K is the more often with power and authority you state who you are, the more that shows up in our world. Let's take our affirmation together. I am a child of the living God. I have within me the all-creating power of the Christ. It radiates from me and blesses all whom I contact. I am now in the presence of pure being and immersed Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. I am now in the presence. Let's rest into that as we join with Steve. From your heart now. Having spoken these words of the truth of us, gently now, easily, we move to that place within us that Jesus called our secret place, our inner closet. And this day, as we enter in, we close the door on those thoughts and feelings of what I should have done. I close the door on those thoughts and feelings of what I have yet to do this day, and for one holy moment, I rest. I breathe, and I listen. In my prayers, I'm learning to ask. Here in the stillness, in the silence, answers come. Perhaps this day for you, a word, love, peace, order. Perhaps a song. the vibration of the music. Regardless of how it comes to you this day, know these gifts come to you wrapped in love. This day, in this moment, I choose to say yes. I reach out and claim these gifts. And as I do so, I immerse myself in them. Each and every cell of my being responds. And in this moment, all my needs are met. I breathe. I am grateful. And that gratitude swells up and moves from me, through me, into my world. I remember I'm a channel through which good flows. In this moment, that channel is wide open. From me, through me, good flows. First, into this room, touching each and every one of God's children. Joining with other thought of like mind, growing in strength and in a power. And in this moment, I am blessed. I choose to continue to be a blessing from me, through me, from this place into our spiritual community, wherever that might be this day. Touching, healing, blessing. From this place, from you, through you, into our city. Touching, healing, blessing. And in this knowing, I am blessed. And I am grateful. From me, through me, this flow continues across our state, across our country, touching, healing, blessing. And in this moment, I am blessed. I choose to continue to be a blessing. From me, through me, good flows around our world, throughout our universe. Remembering that in truth and in spirit we are never separate one from the other. We know that somewhere, somewhen, someone is saying thank you, thank you, thank you for the gifts this day that have come from you, through you, are gratefully received, and that gratitude swells up and returns to you. The circle of life, whole and complete. I live this truth. I breathe this truth. I rest in this truth for one holy moment. knowing there is more yet for me to do this day, holding to this experience we just have shared, gently and easily now, I bring my attention back to this place, to this now. And from my heart, I join with you and pray as Jesus, our elder brother, has taught us when he said, "As for you, pray therefore in this manner." As most of you know, I don't spend a lot of time with paper in my hand, because I've learned that if I will just open up and allow God to work through me, that what needs to be said will be said. What needs to be done by me will be done by me. However, occasionally you want to make sure you get it right. Well, at least the way it's written. It doesn't have to be right, it's just the way it's written. And so when I was studying on this word dedication and dedicate, and what did it mean? And I knew, you know how you just kind of know stuff when you just haven't done anything in a long time, you just kind of know it. I knew that there was a principle in this word dedication, but I just wasn't sure what it was, and I found it. It's one of the 12. Anybody want to know which one it is? Besides me? Okay, well, Dick wants to know. Dedication, this is just one of the definitions, the quality of being dedicated or committed to a task or purpose. The quality of being dedicated or committed to a task or purpose. Synonyms: commitment, application, but here's my favorite one: zeal and enthusiasm. See? 12 powers keep showing up, don't they, in our languaging? And see, we come from, as students of truth, a history of being dedicated to a task or a purpose. In fact, this movement was founded on that. That's really hard to read. Fortunately, I have a better copy. This is a covenant that Charles and Myrtle Fillmore wrote in December, the 7th day of December in 1892. This covenant they wrote and put away. It was not discovered until 1948. They just lived it. And here's what it says. We, Charles Fillmore and Myrtle Fillmore, husband and wife, hereby dedicate ourselves, our time, our money, and all we have, and all we expect to have to the Spirit of truth, and through it, to the Society of Silent Unity. It being understood and agreed that said Spirit of truth shall render unto us an equivalent for this dedication in peace of mind, health of body, wisdom, understanding, love, life, and abundant supply of all things necessary to meet every want, without our making any of these things the object of our existence, in the presence of the conscious mind of Christ Jesus, this 7th day, December 1892. And from that, here we are. A lot of people have come before us. There will those who will come after. And in our journey, we often come to places like this chapel and say, what does this mean? Who were these people? Anybody traveled and done that besides me? Kind of fun, yeah? Where you go to places and you kind of wonder, can you imagine, use your imagination, who sat in that pew? Right? What did they think? What did they look like? To bring this about. And so we often have to make up our story because we don't have a written record of it. And that's true here as well. Now, with the exception of those who came through the back door, how many of you know there's a plaque on the front door? Yeah. It's in loving memory of Corporal, he said, reaching his paper. Here it is. I have it written down. Corporal Fred D. Grattan. Somebody know him? Know about him? Yeah. And underneath it, it says, Mom. Mom was, needless the one to say, who offered that plaque, because Fred was a Marine corporal in Vietnam. One of those who gave his life, dedicated and committed to a cause. Even if later you look at the cause and say, I'm not so sure. And we do those kinds of things when it comes from our what? Our human side, right? We do the best we can in the moment, and we have the opportunity then to honor those who have stood up. And that starts right at that front door in this building. The building itself, by the way, didn't start here. It started over at 4th and Oakdale as a German Lutheran church. So if we speak a little funny every now and again, it's okay. We pretend we're on the wall. I have ways to make you tick and talk. There's no filter. And for those of you who are not aware, the filter's gone. It just isn't there. And as you continue in this building, on the plaque on the back corner, there are 86 plaques on that wall, on that plaque, little, in memory of members of this spiritual family and community who have gone before, who were committed and devoted to this work, to the seeking of the truth and learning how to express it in a different way. It took a lot of work. It still takes a lot of work. Our work isn't done. How do I know? I'm still here. We have a test, by the way, for those of you who'd like to take it. It's an easy test. You take these two fingers and do this. And you do this. You can do those two things, A, feel a breath, and have pulse. Your job's not done. Just saying. Sometimes those who have gone before us, even though they're not where we can see them today, in this experience, their work goes on nonetheless. In the words that they have given us, in the support that they have given us, in the commitment that they have made to not only living a life to the fullest, but living a life of service to their community and of service to their world in many cases. Some we know a lot about, some we don't know so much about. I read the plaques. I've read most of the names up there, and I have to be honest, I only remember mine on there as a donor, just for those of you who are a little concerned. Steve was getting over. Just those who have come before. And the overhead equipment and our enhanced media, that came from a gift. See, when you're devoted to a cause, this equivalent will show up. And Ethel Lilly, to this day, I've asked members who were here, charter members, we don't know who she is, but a gift arrived in this ministry because we continue to seek. And from and through that gift, the overhead and some additional sound equipment was offered. The piano itself was a gift in 1961. Effie Kurtz. I don't know who Effie is. I know she liked her music loud. I know that because we have Steve. Right? Each of us brings a little different something unique, individual to our world, and sometimes we need to take time out and just appreciate that, and that's part of what we're doing here this morning, is just taking a little time to take a look at what dedication means, and then we're going to honor some folks who have gone before us here in a little bit. But it just kind of tickled me that in this reading of how much we do and don't even think about it, to be committed to living life. The fact that you're here, by the way, doesn't matter what your belief systems are. I will say to you, you have committed to live life. How do I know? You're here. This is not rocket science. You're here. You're living an expression of the truth as you know. You are dedicated to that, whether you recognize it or not. So part of what we're doing today, part of our plan today, is to rededicate ourselves to the truth of who we are, rededicate ourselves to a path of walking our truth, of recognizing it and being grateful. Because that's part of being dedicated, isn't it? Being zealous and enthusiastic and joyful and all those other things. Even when things don't go quite the way you want to. Another thing you just said, is when you make an error, cop to it in a hurry. For those of you who don't know that phrase, cop means change of plea, meaning I have committed an error and I now need to fix it. The error is that when you listen carefully on the phone, sometimes when somebody says F as in Frank, it comes in your ear as S as in Sam. Now, what does that mean? Well, as what it means is this. One of the things we're doing today is dedication of our 2 stained glass windows. That was a project, by the way, committed to a task or purpose that started, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, at least 2 years ago, with an idea that said, what are we going to do with this wall? Now, it began with a bigger idea Isn't that a beautiful wall? We looked at these three pieces and said, okay, what are we going to do? And what we did is we found the artist that did these three pieces, and he also did these two. Now the challenge is that on that wall, there's a room over there. So the sunlight doesn't come through. So we had to create the sunlight. And fortunately, we live in a time that we could do that well, because behind those stained glass are LED, little crisp displays that provide light with no heat, or not no, but minimal heat, which is great because then the incandescent bulbs would need vents and fans and all kinds of stuff. So that began as an idea. And in doing that idea, we said, you know, what would be great is let's see if we can find within our congregation the funding to do this by making these windows memorials, to dedicate them to someone who has come before that has provided us with information on how to live. Oh, I knew I forgot one. How many of you remember Amy's Nook? Amy Moore was a worker here. Our back sound room was Amy's Nook. And there's a plaque back there. And the Bonards aren't here today. I miss them. And I think Diane was on that plaque, and Bob and others. You see, people who work, who come before you, you honor them, but you need to have a story that goes with them. And so we have a story today. We're going to start with that back window. And that back window is dedicated to the loving memory of Betty Fitchner, which is F-I-T. That's not what this says. It'll be fixed, I swear. Has an S on it. See, I told you. I'm going to hold my finger over the S. So nobody will know but us. And we can edit this part out. To Betty Fitchner Rodemeyer and to Clyde Carl Fitchner. Their family, a lot of them are here today. Stand up, all of you guys. Don't just sit there. Okay, thank you. And if all we did was just the plaque, which is beautiful, by the way, as soon as the spelling's corrected. If all we did was that, a week from now, a year from now, 100 years from now, somebody would come in and say, oh, isn't that pretty? And would have no idea what's up there. So what you may not see, and if you haven't noticed, on that stained glass, there are two things that represent these two people. Betty was, by the way, a charter member of this ministry. And as you can tell, her family, unto the generations, continues to participate. And for that, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for being here today and allowing us to be a part of your life, and vice versa. But on that window, when you walk by, I'm not going to tell you where it is, you have to find it on your own. There's a needle and a thread. Now the needle and the thread represents Betty. Only in part, because there is no way that you could tell somebody's story in just a given symbol. But it has a lot to do with her. And also on that stained glass window, you'll find a star. And the star is for Clyde. He was the chief of police here in Medford. So service to the community continues, doesn't it? You see that service model keep showing up? And a week from now and 100 years from now, people will go, oh, that's nice, but they wouldn't know. But yes, they will, because in addition to this plaque, what we've done is we sat down with family and just made a couple of 3 paragraphs to represent these two, to tell their story. Betty and Clyde were married in 1933. They were spectacular on the dance floor. So you can't put that in the window either. Well, you can. They provided a home for many troubled foster children, as well as having 4 children of their own, Shirley and Carolyn and Gary, and John, and Betty had a sister. That doesn't say that here. I'm just going to say hello. So there you go. Betty earned a degree in design. Ah, the thing you look for is the needle and thread. From Southern Oregon Normal, now known as Southern Oregon University, while working as a seamstress for room and board. Ooh, isn't that kind of fun? Have to work to get a degree. Kind of like that as an idea. And although sewing was her lifelong passion, she also owned her business and was voted Mrs. Jackson County. I didn't know that. She found time to volunteer. Clyde was the first motorcycle policeman in Medford, circa 1937. And he retired in 1974. After many years as the chief of the police, he established many youth and community programs in Medford, including a high school driver education. Had its own television show, Know Your City Police. I suspect it was a local show. Probably not nationally syndicated, but known here. He has a city park named after him. I didn't know that. And he attended this church when it was on 4th Street as Zion Lutheran. See? And if we didn't have that written statement to go along with this plaque, you wouldn't know. But you do. Because that's part of what this dedication service is all about, is to let you know some of the history. The other window has a butterfly on it. And that butterfly and that window is in loving memory of Phyllis Claire Sherburne, my mom. Yay. My family will now stand up. Linda's back there. Kids couldn't be here today. And she was 3rd generation UD student. My great-grandmother. Started in Oakland, California in the early 30s. And then my grandmother, my mom, now me. And one of the things that she did as part of expressing her truth was to remind us of the idea of transition. And everywhere she went, she had a butterfly. She always wore one on her back. And the reason she did, she says it was a great conversation starter. I didn't need a name tag. Somebody behind me would go, "You got a bug on your back." It's the butterfly, right? And so that window is in her memory. See, these 3 people dedicated themselves so that you and I can enjoy this. And we will pass that along to those who come after us, the joy and the truth. And what they taught us is this, in their own way. Your world begins here, in you. And it begins with love. Take a picture, and the picture is of you, right where you sit, right here, right now. As these 3 loved, to this picture of you, I love you. Together, I love you. To this picture from these 3 and those who have come before, you bless, I bless you. Together, I bless you. From those who have come before, to this picture from your heart right now, I appreciate you. Together, I appreciate you. Breathe. Here's the truth. In this moment, from your heart, to this picture, to this you, say, I behold the Christ. Together, I behold the Christ. And so it is. And in that moment, you have rededicated yourself to living life with a capital L. God bless.
Thank you for listening. Please feel free to pass this message along to your friends and family. You can obtain additional audio tapes or CDs by visiting our website or by calling our office at 541-772-6902. We invite you to join us in prayer. We know that prayer works, and now you can send your prayer request to our prayer team here at Christ Unity Church by using the form on our website. The activities, programs, and services of this ministry are presented on a love offering basis. All gifts, regardless of size, are gratefully accepted. You may participate either by sending your gift to Christ Unity Church, 540 North Holly Street, Medford, Oregon, 97501, or by visiting us on the internet at www.unitymedford.org.